It's BETParx Saturdays, live from the Sportsbook at the Parx Casino in Bensalem, Pennsylvania. I'm Jeff Skversky, live on the PHLY Sports YouTube channel alongside my producer, Andrew Frazier. A beautiful, brisk November afternoon here in Bensalem. Man, and were things ice cold for the Eagles last night or what? Ay. Can we get into this? My goodness, what happened to the Eagles last night? Just brutal. Just absolutely brutal. I was not worried about this football team weeks ago, a month ago, coming out of the bye week. I'm worried now. Because you look at last night, and think about this. Eagles fans are the best. They are the best fan base in all of football. Eagles fans were walking out of the building in the third quarter, and it was a one-point game. I've never seen anything like it. Then, of course, the mass exodus when it's 24-9. I get it. It was really hard to watch. It's super windy, super cold. It's a long Thanksgiving weekend. But my goodness, Eagles fans are leaving the building at a one-point game? I mean, come on. And Saquon Barkley said it best last night. We're giving the fans nothing to cheer about. And that certainly is the case. And if this is not a wake-up call for the Philadelphia Eagles, I don't know what is. I really don't, because they did not play the 1985 Chicago Bears last night. This is a Bears team that is a really bad defensive football team. They were missing a ton of players, lots of linebackers, and the Eagles have one of their worst offensive performances of the season, and this goes back weeks. Think about this. Going back 4 weeks since the bye week. Going back to the Cowboys game in particular, they went 4 straight quarters without a touchdown. Worst stretch of the season. Since the bye, the Eagles have scored 62 points combined in those 4 games. Offense averaging 15.5 points per game over the last 4 games. Are you kidding me? Think about it like this. The Eagles' offense, all the talent they have, it is the highest paid offense in the National Football League. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley. Don't forget Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson. Of course, Lane didn't play, but this offense, too talented, too rich to be having these issues this late in the season, and you have everybody back. Think about it. 10 of the 11 starters from the Super Bowl team are back, and you're still having issues. So what is the issue? What is the issue with this football team? Everybody is screaming and yelling, pointing fingers. Fans last night are leaving the building, yelling, screaming, fire Kevin Patullo. What is the answer? Let's go to the man himself. Here's what Nick Sirianni, the Eagles head coach, said last night about what exactly is going wrong with this football team. Listen.
We'll evaluate obviously everything, but like I said to you guys, when you win, when you lose, it's never about one person. We all collectively have to do a better job, and that's going to be starting with us as coaches, starting with me as a coach, finding solutions to getting the offense going. And so I'll put that on us as a staff and put that on me most individually there to help get this thing pointed in the right direction. But yeah, no, I still stay with that. You can't. It's the greatest team sport there is, and it's never about one person. We all have to look internally and all have to get better, and coaches and players.
Thank you. Offense, though, you turn 10 or 11 starters. You guys spend more money on that than the NFL. Why is it not performing?
Yeah, if I wish I could tell you this is exactly what it is, and this is hard. It's not easy to be successful, stay successful. So we have to we have to do it collectively. We have to do it collectively as a unit. Like, obviously, if I knew exactly what it was and everything that it was, then we'd have fixed it. But right now, we're still searching and we're still looking, and a lot of football left to play. 8-4 right now, a lot of football left to play. And this weekend will be, an opportunity for us to find more answers and to figure things out as coaches, players being able to rest, to gear up for this last stretch of 5 games left. but obviously hasn't been good enough. Coaching, playing, and we got to find answers.
It seems crazy to me as we are back live here at the Sportsbook at the Parx Casino in Bensalem that Nick Sirianni is still searching for answers. And if you listen to him there, it doesn't even sound like he has an answer. And to be this deep into the season for a team coming off a Super Bowl win is really hard to fathom. And he says he's going to evaluate everything. Coaches, players, everything, you name it. But one thing he's not going to change heading into this Chargers game on Monday Night Football as they have a 10-day break is the offensive coordinator. And Eagles fans, again, coming out of the link last night, fire Kevin, screaming it even inside the link, fire Kevin Patullo. They're not going to do that. Barring something changing here, Nick Sirianni said it himself that they are not going to make a change whether you like it or not. And this goes to show that maybe it's not Kevin Patullo's fault, but I want you to hear this because it is interesting to hear Nick Sirianni say point blank, no. We are not getting rid of offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo. Listen to this.
If I could ask you, just to clarify what you said earlier about evaluating everything. So does that mean you are evaluating, like changing the play call?
No, we're not changing the play caller. But we will evaluate everything, and that's what this weekend we'll have another little mini bye, and I think that's another short week, another short week that leads to a long weekend where we'll evaluate everything. But again, like I said, after that, it's never just about one person, right? You win as a team, you lose as a team, and you try to evaluate everything, win, lose, or draw, and get better from it.
What's Kevin doing to give you that confidence?
Yeah, again, I have confidence in the entire group. Again, I know it will keep coming back to Kevin, but again, if I thought it was one thing, then you make those changes. Obviously, it's a lot of different things, but I don't think it is Kevin. Now we all have a part in it. Kevin has a part of it. I have a part of it. All the coaches have a part of it. All the players have a part of it. Again, you win and lose as a team. It's never on one thing.
It is interesting when you hear Sirianni, there was a little quick one-liner in there where he goes, I don't think it's Kevin. And maybe it's not Kevin. Or maybe Nick goes, okay, if we made a change, it could spark this team. It's kind of like firing a manager in the middle of a season to get something going. But baseball is different, of course, than football. And maybe it's not Kevin Patullo's fault. But you're not going to get rid of Jalen Hurts. You're not going to get rid of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Saquon Barkley. And there's all sorts of issues all over the place. And again, this is a good football team. And if you look at the odds, if you look at the betting lines, I mean, the Eagles are still among the favorites to win the Super Bowl. As bad as this felt yesterday, as bad as this stretch has felt, and this offense that has been disjointed, but do you agree with Nick Sirianni saying it's not Kevin Patullo's fault? And again, maybe it's not, but sometimes maybe you have to make a change just to make a change to just send a spark. Now, if you think back a couple years ago, they did this on the defensive side with Sean Desai, and things just went bananas. And things just really went off the rails, and it felt kind of internally like they were panicking when they got rid of Sean Desai in the middle of the season. And maybe Nick learned from that. Or maybe just flat out, this is just not Kevin Patullo's fault, and he's the easy scapegoat for the press and for the analysts and, of course, for the fans. But you do have to wonder how much is on Patullo and how much is on Jalen Hurts. And Hurts, he has been great at not turning the ball over. Of course, that was an issue yesterday, and he took full blame for that. But when you look at Jalen Hurts and you wonder what his relationship is like with Kevin Patullo, and remember, Hurts has done a really good job. Don't forget, he won a Super Bowl. He took you to another Super Bowl, and he played lights out in that Super Bowl that he lost. But Jalen Hurts, even though he has all the guys around him, he's had so much change around him. How about 13 different play callers in the last 10 years for Jalen Hurts, dating back to college? So Hurts has had a ton, a revolving door. And I do wonder what is going on with Jalen Hurts and where the disconnect is, because we look at the game last night and other games, of course, going back to the Cowboys and the Packers and the Lions. You're like, what is going on? He looks off. He's missing guys. Guys are open and this and that. What's going on with Jalen Hurts? And you wonder what the relationship there is. And no one's throwing anyone under the bus, but I want you to listen. Hurts was asked this directly last night after losing that game to the Bears, having his 2 turnovers, which he took blame for. Hurts, he called himself out, but I want you to listen to what he said about his relationship with offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo, and is that potentially a problem? Let's take a listen to that.
Kind of pressing of moving forward. That's it. Going out there and trying to find ways to move the offense down the field, put points on the board, and I'm always encouraging of sitting in an identity. And so we've all got work we've got to do.
Do you have confidence in Kevin right now as a play caller?
Yeah, I got confidence in him. I got confidence in this team. I got confidence in us when we're collaborative. I got a lot of confidence when we have an identity. So I think that's the first thing that we got to establish that we've talked about.
We saw more run-pass option plays this game. Was that the game plan coming in, and is that just to take advantage of the fact that they were down at the linebacker position?
I can't say that was necessarily the game plan. We had some different things in to take advantage of what we thought were some opportune looks. It's just a matter of getting to those things through the midst of the game. So,
Jalen Hurts there talking about his relationship with offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo, and he also said, we are all pressing forward, trying to improve and make the most of our opportunity we have. And boy, do they have an opportunity or what, as we're back here live at the Sportsbook at Parx Casino in Ben Salem. Jeff Skversky alongside my producer Andrew Frazier. This team has an amazing opportunity. The last time I checked, the Eagles have the second best odds at winning the Super Bowl. Okay, this is a Super Bowl team, and it's hard to fathom at this point. And again, as we talked about at the top of this show, hopefully this is a wake-up call for the Philadelphia Eagles and it could spark things. But we've been waiting for this thing to get rolling here, and it just hasn't happened. And 12 games into the season, it's just at a point, and I have been patient with this team, and I have defended this team, but it's insane. And the interesting thing I thought last night, what A.J. Brown said, A.J. Brown was asked in the locker room, are you being schemed to get open? As reporters are trying to find answers for the fan base, and A.J. Brown, when asked, are you being schemed to get open as an offense? He said, yes, it's coming down to execution. Now, maybe it's on the receivers. Maybe it's on the tight ends. Maybe it's on the offensive line. Maybe it's on Jalen Hurts. Maybe it's on Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni. And maybe it's just a combination. And they're also getting some different looks from teams, and they're getting each team's best shots. What I found really interesting last night, a couple plays. First half last night against the Bears, there was that third down. There was 13-12 on the clock. Second quarter, it was a 3rd and 8 at the Bears' 26-yard line. They go no huddle, shotgun. Jalen Hurts goes right, short pass off Devontae Smith's hands, and it led to that Eagles field goal. When I look back at that play, it was thrown behind Smith. And when you really looked at it, Dallas Goedert was wide open right down the middle. And I want to say this carefully because, in all fairness, if you look at the Bears front, they had 7 guys ready to take Jalen Hurts' head off. So they had 7 guys at the line of scrimmage on defense, and they were bringing that pressure. But they pointed it out on the Amazon broadcast last night, that also aired on Fox 29. And Richard Sherman, the former Seahawks corner, pointed this out, that Dallas Goedert was wide open right down the middle. Hurts didn't even look that way. He went right to his left to Devontae Smith. It was a bad throw, and again, there was pressure. And things happen in a split-second decision. You know, for someone that's been on the field during games, and I've done sidelines for the Eagles, and I've been on the field, the game moves so much faster in person. Even from the stands or the press box, when you're on the field, every play feels like a car accident. So it's easy to look at the replays. It's easy to even watch on TV and say, that looks like he has a ton of time. But you go 1, 2, If you're a quarterback, and I was saying this to my producer, Andrew Frazier, before we came on, it's easy to second guess everything that Jalen Hurts or any quarterback does, but when you think about it, if you have 2 seconds and your livelihood depends on 2 seconds, 1, 2, and some guy's going to take your head off, let alone 7 of them that are 300-pound guys coming at you at 100 miles per hour, it's easy to not see everything. So I do want to point that out, but Jalen Hurts did not see Dallas Goedert, and we also don't know the play call, and we don't know what was going on in Hurts' head and what he saw from the pressure and what the Bears were disguising it. But this is not the first time, and Hurts missed guys in the Lions game. He missed guys in the Cowboys game, missed guys in the Packers game, and it's not one game in particular. It's this entire season. What I'm seeing as a whole here is that defenses are stacking the box. They're taking away the run. They're taking away Saquon Barkley. Teams are saying, you know what, Jalen Hurts, you beat us because we're not letting Saquon Barkley beat us. They're stacking the box. They're bringing the pressure. And he's missing guys. He's missing guys wide open. Maybe the routes aren't there. Maybe Hurts, who has had one of the best deep balls in the NFL, in my opinion, and according to Sirianni and Wilbert Montgomery, the Eagles legend guy, Jeremiah Trotter, guys I've talked to over the years, they have all said Jalen Hurts has one of the best deep balls in the NFL, but this season he's just off. Maybe it's the offensive line. Maybe it's his accuracy. Maybe it's just everything. Nick Sirianni last night, he was asked to evaluate Jalen Hurts. He didn't throw him under the bus. He just said they weren't good enough as a whole, as an offense. And I do wonder from Jalen Hurts' perspective, what is going on here? And so let's listen to Jalen Hurts, what he said about this offense 12 weeks in, still one of the worst offenses in football. Here's Jalen Hurts last night about what's up with the offense.
Combination of a lot of things. Ultimately, you look inward first, and I see it as how the flow of things have gone for us this year, and being practical about that. I can't turn the ball over. So that's the ultimate goal, is go out there and find a way to win, and that's been a direct correlation with success for us, being able to protect the ball. And so that really, really killed us. It's not ideal. It's not something that you desire. But going off of how the flow of this year is gone, it's kind of similar to my response last week and saying no of any surprises of where we are. It's just a matter of picking ourselves up and continue to press forward and stay together in it and being committed to it.
I don't think anybody questions whether or not Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni and this team has the work ethic and things like that. But when you're this deep into the season, it feels like, my, oh my, like, how are we here? And, look, you don't want to make this a broken record and just complain and complain and complain. But when this football team has all the talent in the world and they're the highest paid offense in football, it is unacceptable at this point in the season for things to be this bad. And I hope that a message was sent that, look, we can feed A.J. Brown the ball and he could have all of his stats the last 2 weeks, and it doesn't matter. They still lose. And maybe this is a weird point in a lot of ways, that they were winning when A.J. Brown wasn't getting his targets and wasn't getting his stats. And now A.J. Brown the last 2 games is showing up. You're feeding the ball. Maybe you're feeding him too much, and it's just not working. But, man, and so then you wonder what changes could be made, because right now it feels like the 2023 Eagles that, started 10-1, fell apart. We talked about defensive coordinator Sean Desai losing his play calling duties to assistant Matt Patricia in December. Could that happen here on the offensive side? Could it blow up? And we talked about maybe Nick Sirianni learned from that, but something has to change, and they have some time before the Chargers game on Monday Night Football, 10 days between games, but 15.5 points per game over the last 4 is just not going to cut it. And so it brings you to the running game. Teams are taking away that run game and taking away Saquon Barkley. Look, Saquon Barkley should have just went off yesterday. When you think about what kind of team they played, the Bears coming in had the 28th ranked defense against the run. This is Saquon Barkley we're talking about, and I know a lot of miles were put in those legs last year, and he had a career year, one of the best running back seasons ever. They win a Super Bowl. They don't win without him. But he had 56 total yards rushing yesterday. Saquon Barkley against one of the worst rushing defenses in football. Listen to this. First half, they ran 17 plays, only 2 first downs, 83 total yards, 26 rushing yards. 26 rushing yards in the first half. Barkley, the best running back in the NFL. Guess how many times Barkley has rushed for over 100 yards this season? Andrew, do you know how many times Saquon Barkley has rushed over 100 yards this season?
0.
One
time. Wow, that's
one time.
Crazy.
$150 in that win against the Giants. But that's it. And Jalen Hurts said that he can't point to one thing. It's execution. And, we've talked about the identity of this team. The identity thing is so overblown to me. Like, the identity is this, the identity is that. I'm tired of hearing about the identity. Just play football and win the game. Just win the freaking game. And by a large part, Jalen Hurts has done that, until the last couple weeks, obviously, against the Cowboys and last night against the Bears. Then the offense hasn't been pretty, and the defense has bailed them out, and we'll get into the defense. But I just don't know what's going on. And so then you go, what are the issues with the offensive line? And what I think nobody's really talking about is that the offensive line has been banged up. Of course, Lane Johnson, he has the foot injury, did not play last night. He's missed the last few games. He's going to miss probably about a month. Doesn't need surgery. That's a good thing. But they haven't been cohesive all year. They've had injuries. It has led to a lot of issues, and we hear all the time it starts up front and you build through the trenches and out. And they haven't had Lane Johnson. But Jason Kelce talked about it on ESPN during the Cowboys or after the Cowboys game that the offensive line is crippling this offense. And who else? Who else is a better expert about the offensive line than Jason Kelce? And he was even talking about it. And then you go, as bad as the offenses look, the one thing the Eagles have been amazing at the last few years, the tush push. And let's talk about the tush push. Even that has been struggling. The Lions kind of shut it down. And then last night, Jalen Hurts fumbles. One of his 2 turnovers comes on the tush push. And then I listened to Jalen Hurts last night, and you kind of read between the lines. You look at his facial expressions and his eyes. Is Jalen Hurts not in love with the tush push? And we've heard Kelce even talk about just how demanding the tush push is on guys and this and that. And it wasn't banned this year. The Eagles wanted to keep it in the game. Maybe it would have been a good thing if they didn't have it in the game, because if you listen to Jalen Hurts talk about the tush push last night, they've converted it less and less and less this year. Sounds like a problem. Listen to Jalen Hurts talking about the tush push last night. Sounds like he's not a fan. Listen.
On that play, it presents itself as an issue on that particular play.
It's been like that for a very long time, yeah.
You started to figure out that play?
Yes, it's becoming tougher and tougher, ultimately. But, again, me holding on to the ball, that's something I can control.
Yeah, look, he can't turn it over. He knows that. And Jalen Hurts has been unbelievable at holding on to the football. And he's had the best turnover to interception ratio in the NFL. He's been great at holding on to the football and not making that mistake. But, look, teams, they're maybe figuring out the tush push. And one of the things I thought was interesting last night as well, former Eagles safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who now plays for the Bears, he was asked last night on a podcast with Emmanuel Acho and LaShawn McCoy, the former Eagles, hey, is this offense predictable? And CJ, look, he's a showman and he likes talking trash, but he gave a big smile, a big laugh, and he winked as if the Eagles' offense is predictable. And this is not the first time we've heard this. Is the Eagles' offense predictable? And that brings us back to the Kevin Patullo point. Maybe they do need a change. And I am not for firing people. I think that is a bad practice by fans who just going around, fire this person, fire that person. But something is just off. Something just looks off with this football team. Jeff Skversky with Andrew Frazier. We are here at Parx Casino outside the sports book at Parx Casino in Bensalem. We are at BETParx Saturdays live from the sports book at Parx Casino. Of course, you can give the gift of entertainment this holiday season. Tickets to see national headliners at the Excite Center at Parx Casino here make for a great gift. Great stocking stuffer, perhaps. Parx Casino has something for everyone this holiday season. The entertainment lineup is pretty impressive here. Coming up, classic rockers on January 17th, the Grand Funk Railroad. January 30th, 16-time Grammy winner David Foster and Catherine McPhee will be here. How about Saturday, January 31st, the Marshall Tucker Band and Jefferson Starship. Friday, February 6th, Broadway star Alan Cumming Uncut, his new one-man cabaret show. Saturday, February 7th, can't talk at this point. Saturday, February 7th, Piano Man Generations, a tribute to Elton John and Billy Joel. March 14th, comedian Tracy Morgan from SNL. Hilarious. He will be here at Parx Casino in Bensalem. Then another comedian. She is fantastic. February 4th, Kathleen Madigan. The Day Drinking Tour will be here. April 18th, Melissa Etheridge. Tickets still available in December for the shows. The Acapello Sound, Straight No Chaser on December 5th. December 6th, comedian Ken Jeong from the movies The Hangover, those great movies. He will be here as well. December 12th, get the Let Out Ultimate Zeppelin tribute. ParxCasino.com/entertainment to buy tickets. You can head to the website to get tickets and more information. Of course, you have to be 21 to gamble. Have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Andrew, we are trying to connect with former Eagles offensive lineman Barrett Brooks. We are waiting for him to call into the show to get some insight there. But when we go back to the Philadelphia Eagles and you look at some of the issues that are going on right now, we caught up with Amazon NFL analysts Andrew Whitworth and Ryan Fitzpatrick. They weighed in on the lack of identity and the struggles and everything going on, and they pointed out to some confidence issues. And they make it sound like the Eagles are a bit of a mess right now, which that's what it feels. But to hear it from, respected NFL analysts that are on the game broadcasts, that are on the pre- and post-game shows, that see this day in and day out, and they can see the game like no other. It is interesting. I want you to listen to what NFL analyst, former offensive lineman Andrew Whitworth, and former NFL quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick had to say about the Eagles' offensive issues and their lack of identity, their confidence. Take a listen.
It screams to me a little different than last year. Last year, you might say, hey, the offense, really how they've played defensively, everything about that team. You might have some weeks where you go, hey, maybe we don't throw for a ton of yards, but Saquon's busting a lot of runs, and our identity is we can run the football at all times and create explosives. This team, it just looks like, man, offensively, really searching for some form of an identity. And I think that's the concerning part is they don't know if they want to run it, and they tried to come out in this game and throw it, and then that kind of started to fall apart. And it's like, man, what's our answer when we get in crucial moments of the games? I look at it when the Cowboys tied it up 21-21. It's like, man, all right, we're still going to try to throw it, get pressure, you get a couple of plays where you just in the run game, it'll block the right guys when they do call a run, and you're just behind the chains the whole time. They just really don't feel like they can find something they have confidence in. So I would say offensively, to me, the more concerning part is I don't see a team that really has an identity to who they want to be on offense, and they look a little lost there. And I think that's the concerning part, because you're going to get in one of these games where we all know when it gets to crunch time against the best teams in the league, it's going to come down to what you can do with the football in the fourth quarter and what are you going to lean on. And this team, to me, the question is what is that, and what's the identity to how they fight against the best teams in the most critical moments of the game?
And I'm excited, just to add to that, excited for this Black Friday game, because how are they going to respond? What a huge letdown, 21-0. And, we've heard about the infighting for a couple of years now and what's going on in the locker room. And I think we'll find out a lot of what this team is made of on Friday to come out and see how they respond to that loss versus the Cowboys.
I would say probably it's a little mixture of this is how it goes, in the sense of, in a running game's a fickle thing sometimes. You look at it, some years you just feel like you create explosives. You've got defenses just playing into your hands and everything you do. And then teams start to kind of find an answer for how they want to stop you. And then you start to search a little bit. I mean, there's a couple things here. Obviously, Mekhi Becton's not there anymore. He was a huge part of really the style of runs that they were able to run last year. And when I say that, I don't mean just the player. Tyler Steen's not as good. I mean, really the physicality and how big he was. Some of the runs that they were able to do are a little different, and they're not going to be as strong in that area and these inside runs and things like that. Lane Johnson's been injured. He's been in and out of the lineup. Now your right side of your line is just different, and it's not as big and as powerful and as successful as it's been in years past. And so that leads to it. And then it compounds to, all right, Saquon presses a little bit. There's some times where you can see he's searching for, I want to try to create an explosive. I want to try and create a big run, and a little less, hey, just down in and down out. I'm going to get every yard that's sitting in front of me. It's a little bit of, I'm trying to find a way to open this run game up. And so I think that, really you look at it, then it starts to become, all right, maybe we should run some different runs. I look at this game last week against Dallas. It's like every time they went to call a run, they just tried something different, whether it was some kind of QB read, whether it was, all right, we're just going to run a full zone play. All right, now we're going to run some kind of counter. It's like they're almost just trying plays and trying to find some run game. And to me, that's why I made the point that it looks like a little bit of a loss of identity, because it's like, man, what is the run that we're going to run these situations? What is it that we want to lean on in moments where we got to go get some yards and we got to get a drive going? It looks like they're even a little lost now as to what do we do well and what are we really going to lean on in those moments. They can't find it because they've kind of been a combination of all the above. Guys in and out of the lineup, not playing as well as they played last year, and then really starting to search a little bit. It kind of feels like that is all encompassing. It's not just one thing. You hear guys say all the time, it's like 1 out of 11 guys messes up and all of a sudden we can't produce. That's what starts to happen in the run game. And then it starts to get everybody kind of guessing, whether it be the play caller, the guy carrying it, or even the offensive line. We're all trying to get each other. And really, what is our identity and confidence? Because confidence is the number one thing in this game. I don't care if we're talking about defense, offense, anything else. They don't have the confidence right now. And when you're calling plays and trying to figure it out without confidence, it makes it a whole lot harder. They just need that one game. And the Bears have not been great against the run. So maybe this is their moment. We keep saying that this year, but this Eagles team is too talented. Like, if they can just find that game where they can get some confidence and some self-belief, I still think they have the guys to be a really successful offense without question.
That is NFL analyst with Amazon Prime, Andrew Whitworth, the former offensive lineman. And you think about this football team, they do have some time. And a lot of guys said last night, Cam Jurgens included, the Eagles center, that the sky's not falling. They have time to figure this out. But you wonder, it is really late in the season. And let's go from one former offensive lineman to another. Let's bring in former Eagles second-round pick and former Eagles offensive line, Barrett Brooks, who does a great job now on NBC Sports Philadelphia, analyzing the Birds. Barrett, how's it going? Thanks for joining us.
I'm good. I'm still tripping off last night, man. And, it just bothered me so much. Not necessarily that they lost, but the way in which they lost. I would have never thought in a million years our team would get dominated in the trenches the way we did. They ran on us when they wanted to. They stopped the offense when they felt like it. This game was really telling as far as if they need to go see the Wizard. Do they need to go get a heart, man? Because to be demoralized like that, that's the worst thing you can do to a defense, is run the ball and you can do nothing about it. I mean, that's terrible. And then on the opposite side of the ball, the way our offensive line is playing, it just doesn't make sense to me. We've invested so much money on that side of the ball, and to lose the way we lost is really disheartening.
It certainly is, and we talked about it at the start of this show that the Eagles, they bring back 10 of their 11 starters from the Super Bowl team on offense. They have the highest paid offense in the National Football League. They have way too much talent. So, Barrett, to simplify it, what would you say is there a singular issue that you see? I mean, you know this game inside and out. Is there a singular issue that you see as the problem here, or is it just a culmination of everything?
It's the discipline. There is no discipline on this team. And that bothers me because Nick Sirianni teams have always been disciplined. You know, I mean, they made too many turnovers 3 years ago. And the next year, they had, 4 turnovers during the regular season? That comes from having discipline and understanding what you have to do to be great. They've been to the mountaintop. They know what it is to be great. They understand how to cross their T's and dot their I's. And for them to go out there and make as many mental mistakes, pre-snap mistakes, that's the biggest thing, because they take no athleticism. All they have to do is you jump off sides, you line up in the wrong way. Those are the things that kill you, because now you're against the sticks. This offense has to be on time for it to work efficiently. That means, getting at least 5 yards on first down. So now when you get into third down, third and short is much more manageable than they've been, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10. And there's not too many plays you can keep running to really, keep the offense going. So they've been 3 out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. That's been their theme. They got double the plays ran on them yesterday. Double the plays. The time possession was horrible. I mean, that first quarter, they had over 100 yards rushing in the first quarter alone.
Yeah, that hasn't happened in forever. And the defense, it was one of the worst defensive performances, at least against the run, in Eagles history. And it was the worst in 10 years. It was, 281 they allowed? It was awful.
Oh, awful. I mean, and Swift, Swift is a former guy. He played for us. And we let him go.
Yeah, and he's from here, and there's probably a chip on his shoulder, and any great athlete will use anything as motivation. I mean, Jalen Hurts still has the Super Bowl loss to the Chiefs on his phone from a couple years ago as motivation. You're like, they just won, but these were what great athletes do. But when I look at this football team, Jason Kelce said it the other day, kind of to your point, that the offensive line is crippling the offense and everything going on. So if you could come in and just wave a magic wand, Barrett, what is your solution to fixing these issues? You have 10 days between games now with that Monday night game in LA on Monday Night Football against the LA Chargers. You have 5 games left overall. This is a Super Bowl team. Let's, when you look at it with talent, what is it going to take to fix this? What would your fix be here?
It's nothing physical. I mean, they still have the best roster in the NFL. And people look at me like, oh, you crazy. What are you talking about? They just got dominated like that. Well, it doesn't still, change the fact that they have a great receiving core when they can use them the right way. The offensive line, all right, at this point, they haven't been playing well because, they have their all-world right tackle. He's out. So, that's where. But, guys like Cam Jurgens right now. Cam is playing on one leg, and it's not giving us really an opportunity to be successful a lot of the times because he's getting pushed back. He's not able to get to the second level like he used to. He's not able to, push off the ball because his power angles aren't there. He's playing straight-legged. And I love, he's doing it, he's out there, trying to win one for the Gipper. He's trying to go out there and give his best. But right now, I don't think his best is good enough on the field because he's injured. He's not the all-pro caliber player that he was last year. He's probably 75 to 80%. And, but he's still trying to go out there and will his team to win. We're getting put in positions where they're just not successful because they're not doing things the right way. Meaning, they're not running the ball successfully. They're not doing a lot of stuff right. So, that's what it is. That's what it is.
Nick Sirianni was asked point blank last night, are you going to make a change at offensive coordinator? And he said no. Absolutely not. Could he change his mind? Of course. But Nick Sirianni, he said it's not on Kevin Patullo. 1, do you agree? And 2, do you have to take the approach where you have to consider a change, even though it's not his fault, to just get this offense, find a spark? Look, this situation kind of backfired on the defensive side a few years ago when they took away play calling duties from Sean Desai, and they had Matt Patricia do it after that 10-1 start, and then it was a whole meltdown, and they lost against the Bucs in the playoffs, and that was just a mess. What would you do here with the Kevin Patullo front? Eagles fans leaving the link last night, fire Kevin, fire Kevin. Is that fair? Where do you stand on the Kevin Patullo front?
Unlike everybody else, I don't think firing Kevin is going to do anything to it because you can still have the same play call, have another play caller in there, and they can still continue to play undisciplined football. It doesn't matter. The gap discipline on the defensive side of the ball was horrendous. Guys started freestyling, trying to make plays. You don't do that. You got to work within the scheme work of the defense. You have to make sure that you're running what the defense requires. So if that's your gap, stay in your gap. Don't try to cover your gap and somebody else's gap. That's when the gap integrity gets, ruined in the defense, and that's exactly what they did yesterday. They picked holes, and the guys, left the gap, and a Swift touchdown. That's exactly what happened. Jalen jumped out his gap. Jalen Carter jumped out of his gap, jumped outside, freestyling, opened up, a cavernous, hole, and he just ran. I could have ran through it. So you got to stay disciplined in what you're trying to do.
You do look like you're in great shape, by the way. I do believe you that you could jump through that. You're still in amazing shape.
You, man, it's ridiculous, no? I just don't understand what is going on, Jeff. I mean,
yeah, and I don't know if Nick Sirianni.
How you can coach discipline. How do you coach discipline? It has to be something that's ingrained in you. That has to be something that's been coached in you all season. You don't just all of a sudden become disciplined. It has to be something that's worked on throughout the season. And because they're not disciplined now, they're going to continue to be, and they're going to continue to lose games, lose the war in the trenches, lose, games that they shouldn't lose.
Yeah, it is shocking. And look, I don't want to overreact to what Nick said last night, where he said we're searching for answers, and I kind of wish I knew, what it was. And I don't want to put too much into that and go, oh, he doesn't know what's going on. I don't. He probably does know what's going on and what the issues are exactly, but fixing them is a whole different thing. And look, the Eagles are going to get everyone's best shot. I mean, you saw the way the Bears reacted. Caleb Williams running off the field, going nuts. Ben Johnson in the locker room last night, ripping off his shirt and flexing as if they just won a Super Bowl. The Eagles are getting everyone's best shot, and they're, they're getting some tough teams in here, and it is hard to repeat. And I don't want to sound like this team is, 4-8 versus 8-4, or they've won 2 games. But at the same time, something is off. And when you look at the quarterback, and I'm sure you got some great insight last night on the postgame show. You guys do a great job on NBC Sports Philadelphia on the postgame show. I'm sure Ron Jaworski had some great insight, not only last night, but this season about the quarterback situation. Jalen Hurts, who I think, and many others I have spoken with, believe he has one of the best deep balls in the NFL, but this season, his accuracy and things just look off. We saw it in the Lions game. We saw it against the Cowboys. We saw it last night. He's missing guys. He's throwing behind guys. Guys are wide open. He doesn't see them. Brian Dable, before he was fired by the Giants, made a comment during one of his press conferences. He's like, yeah, A.J. Brown's, he's open a lot. And everyone went, whoa, wait, what, really? What are you seeing from the quarterback situation? What are you hearing about what's going on with Jalen Hurts? He just, from the naked eye, looks off.
He is off, and right now, he's the captain of that ship. He has to be playing at a higher level. Period. He has to do more. There are guys open within the offense and how the offense is run. There are guys open. He's just not hitting. The throw behind that he had with Devontae was that's something you got to have. That's got to be textbook. That's got to be something that, he does every single day.
Are you talking about the 3rd and 8? I don't want to cut you off, but are you talking about the 3rd and 8? It was like 13 to go. And so the one, Richard Sherman brought this up on the Amazon broadcast, and we talked about it earlier. Dallas Goedert was wide open up the middle. He didn't even look at him, and he just went left, right to Devontae. Now, look, you played the game.
And you know what? And Jeff, let me piggyback that. That's where we should have been going with the ball anyway. 4 guys that started for their defense at the linebacker position were out. The 2 starters and the 2 backups were out. So what do you do? If you're playing with 5th and 6th string guys at the linebacker position, the middle of the field should be open. We should have went to Dallas Goedert all day. All day. He was open all day in the middle of the field. So if we are going to pass the ball, go to where their weakness is. Instead, we're trying to push it down the field, trying to, force slants. No. Take advantage of what's in front of you. And that's what's in front. He was wide open on the play. The previous game against Dallas, the same thing. So many mistakes. And, so Dallas Goedert had 2 great plays, got nullified because of penalties. And then turn around this game, he should have been targeted the entirety of the game, and we didn't even use him.
Yeah, and so what's interesting to me is, some people, I pointed that out last night, and I showed the screenshot of Dallas highlighted wide open. It was that 3rd and 8. It ended up leading to the field goal. They're in Bears territory, 13, I believe 12 on the clock in the second quarter. Dallas is wide open. Now, I do want to preface this by saying the Bears had a 7-man front, and so they had 7 guys at the line of scrimmage. And Barrett, you protected quarterbacks your entire NFL career. Guys were going to take Jalen Hurts' head off, and he doesn't have time to go through his reads. And even, most of the season, Jalen Hurts has had, I think, league high 2.7 seconds to, get the ball out, more time than any other quarterback. At the same time, when you have the Bears, a 7-man front coming at you, maybe disguising who's going to drop back, who's going to steamroll you, to go, I don't have time to go through my progressions. And if Devontae Smith is your first route and he's your first read, you don't have time to find Dallas. And maybe that, hey, okay, Dallas, it's going to take him another move. I don't have time to get it to Dallas, and I don't want to just throw it up in a no man's land. So people have been, coming back at me on X and social media. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. But walk me through that entire play. Does a quarterback have enough time there? Did you believe on that play that Jalen did have enough time to get to Dallas? Because the screenshot and the play, Dallas wasn't looking back at Jalen. That first read, he went right to Devontae.
Well, even if he did go to Devontae, you just got to throw a better ball. He had enough time to throw that ball and put it an accurate throw to Devontae. Let's not take away from that. Devontae was open, and he was right there. All he had to do was throw a ball that can get to him. Yes, he had somebody in his face, but you get paid to do that. The $250 billion man. You get paid to do that. You get paid to, if you got to take a hit, you got to take a hit. That's what your job is. That's what you're paid to do. Those guys up front are paid to block. Those guys are paid to catch. They get paid to do this. So, excuses aside, that's your job, and I get paid to break down the game. So when I see these things, I understand, yes, there's a bunch of things that, are happening during a game, but you still get paid to make things happen. And he's a good enough quarterback that he should have made that throw. My expectation is if he was a regular quarterback, then all right, then I can give him some grace. All right, he didn't make it. But no, damn it, you are an NFL quarterback, a Super Bowl winning quarterback, an MVP Super Bowl quarterback. So you've got to make that pass play. You've got to hold on the ball when you're going to tush push. That's what you can't do that. You've done a tremendous job the last 2 years of not creating turnovers. You have 2 in one game. And I love the fact, in the post game, he said, well, I tried to, give AJ an opportunity to make the pass, to catch the pass. He saw Kevin Byard coming over, and he forced it anyways, and it was a pick. He took it on the chin. He accepted responsibility of it. But still, you're an MVP Super Bowl quarterback. You won a Super Bowl. You're the captain of this team. You still got to make things happen. You cannot do what you're doing. And we can't win unless he has better games.
I agree, and I don't know what the answer is, but it seems as if opposing defenses, including the Bears last night on Friday Night Football, Black Friday football, is that teams are stacking the box. They are going, we are taking away the run. We're not going to let Saquon Barkley beat us. We're going to let Jalen Hurts beat us. And that's what it appears to be. And I know there's way more to it, but it just appears to be they're taking away the run. They're going, Saquon's not going to beat us. Saquon only has one 100-yard rushing game this season. That was $150 against the Giants, and that Giants win. They're taking it away, and they're saying, let Jalen beat us. And that is causing, it seems as if, a huge issue this season where, for whatever reason, Jalen is just not able to get it to his guys. And now it seems like the last 2 weeks, they are just forcing it but to A.J. Brown because he's been complaining. But let's just talk about one thing at a time here.
And producing, though. He's producing.
No, I know, but fine. Let's talk about the A.J. thing. He's complaining. He is producing the last 2 weeks, and they lose. So who cares? And that's been my point all along going into these last 2 weeks. A.J., be quiet.
Right.
And be quiet, you're winning. And I get it as a receiver. You want the ball, but they were winning. And now it's like, okay, we're forcing AJ. AJ has his numbers. He has his targets. He has his catches. He has his stats. And guess what? They lost. They look terrible. Yeah. Are they forcing the ball to AJ Brown too much?
I don't think that's the case.
Really?
Just like you said, everybody's stacking the box, 7, 8 men in the box. And I get it. It's hard to run the ball. But I'm also going to throw it out there that this last game, we stacked the box against the Bears. We ran 7-man fronts, 8-man fronts against the Bears. We had every single offensive line. We call it a bear front. When you cover the center and both guards with a nose guard and 2 tackles, then you have 2 guys on the outside, defensive lineman on the outside. Then you have 2 linebackers and a safety in the box. And they still pounded the rock down our throat. Why? Because it's a mindset. And until this team changes their mindset, they will continue to have this lack of success. Running the ball is a mental attitude. I won a Super Bowl by running we ran probably 60% of the time, Super Bowl XL. That year, I think the ratio was like 430 to like 570. Something like crazy. It was almost like almost 200 carries more than we had pass plays. And we won a Super Bowl because we had a mindset. Everybody stacked the box. This offensive line should be good enough, no matter how many people they put in there. Block who's in front of you and make it happen. Guys like Jordan Mailata shouldn't miss blocks. You shouldn't. Landon Dickerson shouldn't miss blocks. Yeah, healthy Cam Jurgen, I doubt, will miss blocks. Tyler Steen, he's playing well, but you can't miss block because it becomes ongoing. One guy misses a block here, another guy misses a block there, another guy misses a block there. Then it's 3 and out. That's something we can't have, and that's the lack of discipline on their approach to the game. That's a mental thing, and until they change that mental, this team will continue to have the lack of success they've been dealing with the past, not just 4 games, but this entire season.
Is it naive to say that this football team can just figure this out with 5 games to go, or do you think it's just not fixable at this point?
Jeff, it's fixable. But they have to change the mindset. I'll be honest, like I said, they need to go to the Wizards. They got to go find a heart. That's it, and they can get mad at me all they want. I don't care because I know, and I've been in a position they've been in. I've won a Super Bowl also. I played 12 years in the NFL. I've been, through, countless seasons. In fact, I had my last year in Philadelphia. Dana Bible was our offensive coordinator. He got axed actually it was the San Diego game, San Diego Chargers at the time. They were San Diego Chargers. They took his play calling duties, and Bill Musgrave, who was a quarterback the previous season, became our offensive coordinator. He was a quarterback coach. He became our offensive coordinator.
So what kind of message? Yeah. So what kind of message, Barrett, does that send inside a locker room? If you can take us back to that Dana Bible situation, everyone's calling for Kevin Patullo's head, at least the fans and a lot of media members and analysts and experts and yada yada yada. What kind of message does that send inside the locker room? And obviously, this is a different locker room than the one you played in. But what do you think message it sends there?
That's why they can't do it. They can't do it because this is not the same situation. Yeah, Kevin Patullo is the offensive coordinator, but he's running Nick Sirianni's offense. So, you're going to take him away and still run the same offense. If Nick Sirianni goes and calls a play, he's going to be calling Nick Sirianni's offense. So to me, it doesn't make sense. But when you look at it, as a player, you've got to make your coach right sometimes. If he calls a bad call, go out there and execute what the play call, and 9 times out of 10, it could be a successful play. You got to make the coach right. They have to play better individually as players before they can think about making any changes to the offensive schemes or anything else. They are playing horrible. Man to a man, this team are losing the individual matchups that they have out there. And that's why they're losing. It's not play calling. It's not that.
Yeah.
It's jumping off sides.
Yeah.
Pre-snap penalties, everything. They're just not playing good football to the man.
Yeah, I think it surprised many last night that Nick Sirianni's like, no, it's not Kevin's fault. And listen, could Howie Roseman or owner Jeffrey Lurie come in and go, you need to make a change? We saw what happened a few years ago on the defensive side, and maybe that season would have turned out that way anyway, but it just felt like maybe it was a panic or whatever it was, but I don't know if it sent the best message inside the locker room. And maybe Nick learned from that, and the Eagles learned from that, and they go, we're not going to make the same mistake twice. And even though it's a different situation and different team, Nick's going to go on his experiences and go, I'm not going to go through that again. I saw what it did to the football team, and maybe he does truly believe that Patullo is the right guy, and it's all these other reasons, like you're saying, starting up front, the mental thing, the focus, the mentality, and it's just not Kevin Patullo.
Jeff, that's exactly what he's thinking. And he's right by that, because when they made the change back when I experienced in 95, well, it was 98. That's exactly what happened. They guys started freestyling. That was a 3-13 football team. We went 3-13, and I mean it's a travesty that this team is so good. There's so much money invested on the opposite side of the ball. They should be scoring 30 points a game with the athletes they have. Saquon Barkley, they're trying to say, oh, he fell off. No, he did not fall off. When last year, he was averaging 3 yards before he even got contact past the line of scrimmage. Now he's getting hit in the backfield. That was a combo block with Jordan Mailata and Dallas Goedert. And Dallas, and they just totally whiffed on the play, and the guy came in and hit Saquon in the back, 3 yards in the back for a tackle for loss. That's just not having chemistry. That's just not, that's not executing the play. There are too many times when I see guys standing around on the offense. I'm going to challenge everybody. Go back and watch the film and see how many guys are standing around, and look at other teams where there's nobody standing around. They're trying to finish plays. We don't finish plays. That's a mentality thing. You got to finish plays, and they don't finish plays.
Before I let you go, Barrett, we're talking with Barrett Brooks, does a great job on NBC Sports Philadelphia, former Eagles and NFL offensive lineman. I want to ask you about the end of the game last night. It appeared controversial. Now, half the stadium's empty. People just cleared out. They had had enough of that game, which shocked me, by the way. People were leaving in the third quarter it was a 1-point game at that point. But
right.
I want to specifically talk about last night, the controversial decision that Nick Sirianni made, and I want to get your thought on this. There is 3:10 to go. A.J. Brown scores a second touchdown, and they decide to go for the 2-point conversion. They're down 9. So I'm going to paint the picture. Eagles are down 24-15, 3:10 on the clock. They had just scored the A.J. Brown touchdown, down 9. They have all 3 timeouts left, plus the 2-minute warning. But instead, Nick Sirianni goes for the 2-point conversion. People are just really upset about this. They don't understand it. I don't understand it when I just go through everything. I want to get your take on, do you agree with the decision that Nick made to go for 2 there? Because if you kick the extra point, it's within 8, and it's a 1-possession game. So I want to get your take. What do you think was the right decision there? What Nick Sirianni did, or should he have just kicked the extra point?
I'd have kicked the field goal, but I mean, they did miss one. I mean,
sure.
and we haven't even talked about that. They missed a field goal.
Do you understand? But do you understand what Nick did? Or I don't understand it.
I don't understand it either. I'd have kicked the field goal, and I think that would put a lot more pressure on Chicago the next possession also, that they would have to go do something. Maybe they have to force them into a mistake. But once they kicked that field goal, they knew they had it won. From that point on, they didn't have to worry about it, because now they were a 2-possession game instead of a 1-possession game. You kick the field goal, then you go out there, trust your defense, who has started playing better towards that time. They started playing a little better, just a little bit. I mean, they got beat by a play action where the tight end got out there past Blankenship, but they were still playing well enough that I would have said they would have been able to stop them. And they went down there and scored. It just changed the whole dynamics on how Chicago thought and how we throw.
Yeah, I just don't understand it, because the odds of getting the onside kick, you're then forced to go for the onside kick there, which is extremely difficult, even harder in today's with the new kickoff rules, I think, than in the years past. So I don't understand, because you have 3:10 left. Let's say you get the extra point, assuming you get it, and you're within 8. It's a 1-score game. You don't have to do the onside kick. You can kick it deep. The Bears are down in their own territory. Again, you have the 3 timeouts, plus a 2-minute warning, and hopefully you get the ball back. And then if you score again, you can go for the 2-point conversion. Then your odds are, even if you have to burn all those timeouts and the 2-minute warning, you're in control of the clock because you have possession of the football, hopefully. I just don't understand it. But Greg Olsen, the Fox NFL broadcaster, he went online last night on X, and he was just going, it's not debatable. You absolutely do what Nick Sirianni did. And I don't understand that. Are we able to pull up those tweets to show Barrett? Barrett, did you see what Greg Olsen said?
I heard about it, but I still don't think that it was the right decision. To me, it wasn't the right decision.
Yeah, like I don't understand. He says it's not debatable. I guess I don't understand. And Nick Sirianni talked about it, that I want to know how many basically possessions I need and this and that. It just was baffling because you go, all right, you're down 9, you could have been down 8, you score another touchdown, and these are all what ifs. And I don't want to say it's the reason they lost the game, but there's just been a couple decisions. You're just going, man, what are they doing? I don't understand.
Another thing, Jeff, we also got to put this in perspective. He believes in his players. Even though his players gave nothing to believe about the entire game, he still has a lot of confidence in players and their ability to go out there and play and make those things happen. He believes in his players, and that's the only thing I'll give him. It's almost, blind faith. He believes in his players that much, and I think that's the biggest thing with when you're dealing with Coach Sirianni. He believes in it so much, and I think that's the biggest thing to him. He wasn't worried about it. He believes in his players being able to go out there and execute. They just didn't do it for him. They didn't make him right, but he just has, that belief in his guys, and that's the biggest thing.
He believes. I don't know if Eagles fans believe, but do you believe? Do you believe at 5 games to go they are magically going to figure this out? Do you believe, Barrett, that this football team, as bad as it has looked the last 2 weeks, the last 4 weeks, the entire season, at any point you want to pick, are they going to figure it out?
I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't know. I mean, you talk about that blind faith. I do believe they're going to get it right. I do believe that they're going to make it and go far into the playoffs. They're going to figure out what they need to do because they're a championship team, number one. They have a great roster, number 2. And a lot of people say, how can you believe in this roster? They've done nothing. Well, I mean, I've seen it. I've seen that same roster win a Super Bowl. So I'm still believing their ability to go out there and influence games better than what they've been doing. I think that they can win. I think they will win. They're going to rewrite the ship, and, they're going to be fine going into these next 4 games. They're going to have a tough one out there in L.A. this next weekend, but I think this is going to be the starting point. I'm hoping it's going to be the starting point, and I just bleed green, and that's, the blind faith that I have. But, I mean, I truly believe Nick Sirianni can get these guys going in the right direction.
Barrett, we love the insight, and I hope you are right that they figure this out. It's, of course, so much more fun when they are winning. Even when they're winning, by the way, people are still complaining, but that's another side note. But Barrett, great insight, former Eagles offensive lineman, Super Bowl champion. He knows how hard it is to win back-to-back Super Bowls. Does a great job on NBC Sports Philadelphia on their post-game show. Barrett Brooks, thank you so much for joining us on BETParx Saturdays.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
All right, great having you. There is Barrett Brooks, does a great job on NBC Sports Philadelphia. And I do want to just get back to that Nick Sirianni point real fast, that weird scenario everyone's complaining about. I don't understand. Are we able to pull up what Greg Olsen said last night? He says it's not debatable. He's explaining the situation that a 2-score game, slightly less than 50% of the time, it's a 2-point succession rate. It's a 3-score game, the remaining percentage. He's just going on and on and on as you look at his tweets. And then he's saying, assuming that you kick the extra point and go down 8, he missed earlier the extra point, which we talked about with Barrett. You still need 2 possessions, which I get. You still need 2 possessions, but if you do what we said, which was kick the extra point, you get down 8, you kick it off deep to Chicago in their territory. There's 3:10 left. You have 3 timeouts plus the 2-minute, the 2-minute warning. Well, then you don't have to go for the onside kick. The onside kick is really hard. And J.J. Watt, the former Texan star, came out and he was going, analytically, you're absolutely correct. And Greg Olsen's going on and on and on that. And look, these guys analyze it way more than I do, so I want to make it be known that I don't study this nonstop. Nick Sirianni studies it. Can we go to the Nick Sirianni last night was asked about this? Let's listen to Nick Sirianni explaining why he went for the 2-point conversion down 9 as opposed to the extra point. It seemed baffling. Fans are upset. Listen to Nick Sirianni.
Trying to go down 9, in scoring to go down 9, what's the thinking between the 2-point conversion, the first touchdown, and then the potential second touchdown?
Yeah. Obviously, we had to get one at one point. We had to get a 2-point conversion at one point. I've done a lot of studies on that in my notes. Down 9, I'm always going to go for 2 in that scenario. So I followed the plan that, again, I don't try to take anything for.
Looks like we lost power. Still have power, we still have that. We still have power because we have that. We lost our broadcast. That just short circuited on me. All right, there was Nick Sirianni trying to explain why down 9, what they're thinking, going with that 2-point conversion there. I still don't understand it. And listen, he studies it. These guys have analytic experts doing this all day long. I don't understand. That's neither here or there. It's not the reason why they lost the game to the Bears. Let's talk about the Bears. Is this team a serious contender that the Eagles have to worry about down the stretch? Let's bring in NBC Chicago sportscaster Mike Berman joining us live here from Parx Casino in Ben Salem outside the sportsbook. Mike, how's it going?
Make sure I'm unmuted. Good. What's up, Jeff? Thanks for having me.
How are you? So the Bears are 9-3, currently the 2 seed behind the LA Rams. I mean, it's unbelievable what they have done this season. Nobody here in Philadelphia thought the Bears were going to come in here and not only beat the Birds, but just steamroll them. Someone that covers the team day in and day out, are you surprised what the Bears did to the Eagles last night?
I mean, a little bit. I think it was the first time all year I've allowed myself to really believe that they're a dangerous team and a team that should be treated seriously. They've had they do a lot of things well. There's some things they also don't do as well, and because of some of those things they don't do as well, they've had to rally late. I think 4 or 5 times, and each one felt more miraculous than the next. So sometimes that leads you to feel like, are they really the real deal, or are they just kind of getting lucky? But along the way, I've started to allow myself to feel like, at what point does it go just from being you're lucky to you're good in the clutch? I mean, sometimes you kind of make that bad situation where you have to rally late, but at what point does it go from a trend to a pattern? And I think the Bears have gotten to the point where it's a pattern. They make winning plays in winning time, and they find a way to get it done. But then yesterday, that was the most imposing that they've been. They imposed their will on the Eagles. They really owned the line of scrimmage. I thought that was really impressive, the way they just pushed Philly around and ran the ball so well. And I think it kind of put the nation on notice that the Bears should be taken seriously.
Yeah, and Caleb Williams was asked about it last night, that this was was this a statement win? And he kind of was like, I don't know. They're all big. Certainly we understand what this means and blah, blah, blah. But I saw the way Caleb Williams ran off the field last night, and he's fired up, going nuts. And did you see inside the locker room? Do we have a clip of that? Can we play this for Mike? Ben Johnson, post game inside inside the Bears locker room. Let's look at this and get some reaction from Mike. Man, oh man, Mike, what was your reaction seeing that? First of all, Ben Johnson is ripped. Who knew?
Yeah,
but he's
right.
ripping off his shirt. He is flexing. He's going absolutely nuts. Does that send a message that this Bears team, was that their Super Bowl, or is this football team just that good? There's obviously a lot of excitement in the locker room last night at the Link.
So you guys probably don't know the backstory with the shirt coming off. Is that correct?
No, I don't. Or maybe
Okay.
everybody does and I don't. But what is the backstory?
So
Please tell us.
in Chicago, they do. So here's the deal. There was early in this, there's a very well-known hot dog joint called the Wiener's Circle on the north side of the city. And very famous for, everyone goes there when they've had enough to drink that it's a good Friday or Saturday night. You cap it off at the Wiener Circle with a char dog, and the Wiener Circle said it was about week 2. If Caleb Williams throws for 4 touchdowns, we're giving out free hot dogs on Tuesday. So he threw for 4 touchdowns against the Cowboys that week. There was like 2,000 people lined up down the block over the course of the 4 or 5 hours they were doing it. And then they put out another tweet that said, if at any point this season the Bears win a game and Ben Johnson takes his shirt off, free dogs for everyone. So we've kind of been building up to this point.
Okay.
They're winning all these games. Is he going to do it? Is he not? He was asked about it after the tweet was put out, and he kind of had this, sly grin, kind of like, we'll see. We'll see if it happens. I'm a man of the people. So I remember doing a social post after that. I'm like, it's going to happen. There's going to be a point where he takes the shirt off and gets everyone free dogs. So that was the moment last night. Certainly the Bears' biggest, most, noteworthy win of the season. The shirt came off. But I think what you caught a glimpse of there is just a couple things. One, his energy is just off the charts. It is. I mean, he's really intense. I mean,
Sure.
he is an intense dude. And you see the veins popping out of his neck. And you're right, man. He was. We got to look at what was under the hood there, and he's pretty ripped for a dad of 3, late 30s.
Well, yeah,
But,
he comes from Detroit, and under Dan Campbell as the offensive coordinator with the Lions the last few years, and Dan Campbell is of course ripped, so maybe he's just trying to keep up with Dan Campbell. But look, I mean, it's a great perspective on the hot dog backstory. We I don't think anyone here had any idea.
But Jeff, I think you also saw he's built a good culture with this team, and there's a belief. I mean, he came in the offseason. Yes, he was the shiny coordinator candidate that everyone wanted, but still he didn't have any credibility as a head coach, So it takes a commanding presence, and it takes a guy who, even in those off-season program days, whatever he's doing, he's proving, and whatever he's saying, he's proving to these guys that you're veterans who are counting on me to call the right plays and put you in position to win. And they believed from the get-go. And I think that they've built a good culture. And I think that, you kind of see some of that unfold in the locker room scene too. I think it's a tight group that believes. They believe that what the rest of the nation kind of maybe found itself believing yesterday, that the Bears should be, taken seriously.
Yeah, and I don't know how to look at this Bears team. Obviously, they did what they did against the Eagles, and they've had their own issues, which we've been dissecting, till we're blue in the face over the last hour plus. But, you look at this Bears team and you go, okay, they've won 5 in a row. They're 9-3, best in the NFC North, which is arguably maybe the best division in football with the Lions and with the Packers. They're the 2 seed again, right now behind the LA Rams. They come into Philadelphia. On the flip side of that, you go, all right, well, have they really beaten anyone of significance until last night on Black Friday? And they haven't had a very, in my opinion, difficult strength of schedule. They have a real tough one down the stretch. I mean, I think they have the 5th hardest strength of schedule down the stretch. But when you look at the Bears, do you believe, Mike, as we're talking to Mike Berman, NBC Chicago, is this Bears team for real? Do you think that they are serious contenders, not only for the Eagles, but in the NFC?
Well, here's what I'll say. They've been dealing with a lot of injuries on defense, and they got a couple significant pieces back in Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon. Those are really their two best cover guys. They got them back yesterday for that game. They're still missing their three best linebackers. So they're finding ways to win with some really key, starter pieces down. Granted, everyone across the NFL, has to find ways to deal with injuries. Here's the two reasons I think this Bears team really has a chance to do something. Number one, they can run the crap out of the ball. And we saw that yesterday.
Oh, yes, we did. And we know that DeAndre Swift, he's a Philly guy, went to St. Joe's Prep here. Eagles let him go to bring in Saquon. So, look, there's an extra motivation there. But go ahead.
Yeah. They run it. They lead the league in rushing. And they lead the league in takeaways. They really have a knack for creating turnovers. They don't turn it over on offense. Caleb's numbers aren't, outrageous, but he does not turn the ball over. He had the pick yesterday, but that was his first pick in a while. I think he's only got 5 on the season, and they lead in turnover differential. They lead in takeaways. They lead in rushing. Those are some really important metrics when you talk about a winning football team, because you get extra possessions when you take it away, and you run it like that. You're going to win the time of possession every time out. You're going to shrink the game. You're going to, if you are playing a really good offense, that's less possessions for them via takeaways, or less possessions for them via the time of possession battle tilting in your favor. So those are my two big reasons why I feel like they are legit and that they should be taken seriously. That said, you got 2 huge games against the Packers in the next 3 weeks. You still got the Lions at home, and the Lions really humbled them week 2, beating the crap out of them. And they go to the Niners as well for a Sunday night game. So, it is challenging on the stretch, but now they put themselves in a position where, 2 wins, they're definitely in. 1 win, they're probably still in. But obviously at this point, the expectations have changed. You want to win the division at this point. You're in a position to clinch the division. You control your own destiny. You got 2 against the Packers. So expectations have definitely shifted, I think, with, the last couple months, but also with yesterday.
Yeah, I think it's a surprise that the Lions aren't playing as well and the Bears have a better record and are in first place in the NFC North. I think that is a surprise at this point when you look at what Ben Johnson has done in his first year in Chicago. And I think about this team, when you think about the Bears, could they face the Eagles again down the road? Who knows? But you wonder when you look at this football team, they came in here, we talked about him flexing and ripping off his shirt in the locker room last night and the excitement that how can they maintain this success? Because could everything go downhill from here? Because this was a game that was circled on your calendar. You came in, you played lights out, you shut down the Eagles, who in a lot of ways also beat themselves, by the way. And not to take credit away from the Bears, but you wonder, how will the Bears respond to this? Will this be a team the Eagles could see the rest of the way? Because I don't think anybody really saw this game going the way it did last night. When you think about how the Bears stack up. Yeah.
No, I mean, look, I think if they saw each other again, I would expect it to be a better game. I would expect the Eagles to have
because people hear
some more. Yeah, I mean,
I would upset.
Honestly, the Eagles it didn't feel like the Eagles, and I know that I'm not an expert on all the issues going on inside their locker room that go beyond just on field stuff, but it felt like some of that spilled over onto the field, and it felt like there was carryover from blowing that game in Dallas. And, I think that stuff is real. I think, you want to just expect a Super Bowl champion with, stars to just be able to just, turn the page and play and all of a sudden find it. But I think it seems like there's some lingering stuff there. Whereas for the Bears, man, there was an urgency. There was a physicality that you saw from them. It's funny. I go back to, they had a joint practice with the Dolphins during camp, And the Dolphins were whining at the end of the practice about how the Bears were so physical. They thought it was, kind of classless, all that stuff. And that was, looking back on it, that's actually kind of indicative because Ben Johnson said from day one, like, we're going to be physical.
And that goes back to the Dan Campbell stuff. I mean, Dan Campbell, he had to convince his team in Detroit that we're going to be physical in training camp. And I know that's the old school mentality.
Exactly.
Yeah. And, look, that even goes back to Andy Reid. I mean, Andy Reid was that way. And the rules were different back then when they would have the 2 days. But Andy Reid, I mean, he still has his starters play in the preseason, and things are physical in camp with the Chiefs, and we've seen their success, over the years, and they're consider them a dynasty at this day and age. So maybe that is what is needed, because the Eagles, you look at this team, it's just been they have been a team that has just not been disciplined, and they've had just so many issues, and it really came to a head. It felt like last night against the Bears. Well, Mike Berman from NBC Chicago, thank you so much for joining us. Great insight and great backstory about the Ben Johnson shirtless locker room celebration last night.
Right, that's what I'm here for the free hot dogs.
Free hot dogs. I could use a hot dog. It's around lunchtime. Mike Berman, thank you so much for joining us. Great insight about the Chicago Bears, who came in here and just embarrassed the Birds yesterday. Fans were leaving in the third quarter. I've never seen anything like it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Jeff, thanks for having me. And if there is a rematch come the playoffs, we'll do it again. We'll get set for that.
Absolutely. Well, Mike Berman, NBC Chicago, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
All right, guys,
here.
see ya.
BETParx Saturdays. Jeff Skversky alongside Andrew Frazier, my producer, outside the sportsbook at Parx Casino in Ben Salem. And in case you're wondering, the Eagles, they are somehow, some way favorites for Monday Night Football against the LA Chargers. And a little surprising because the Eagles, did not cover the spread, and the game went under the total last night. Eagles fans, they probably were smoked on their bets. Let's bring in our pro sports betting analyst, our expert, Brad Feinberg. Always a great join on the show. Brad, how are you doing this morning? This afternoon? That's how tired I am. It still feels like morning time.
Yeah, no, well, listen, tough game yesterday. Jeff, I got to tell you, did not see that one coming. Bears, Jeff, how often did you see a team that they were 8-3 that's been outscored? I wonder if that's ever happened that late when you're 8-3 and you've been outscored. I think the Bears are an awful team. I know what they did to the Eagles, to me, was Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas shocking, because I've watched the Bears all 11 games. They've been the most fortunate team all year, and they whooped the Eagles. That was not a fluke. That was not lucky. That was not, this was, if this didn't happen, that didn't happen. They killed them.
It really did.
Won them. Yeah. Embarrassingly, they ran the ball down their throats, and when you're a fan of a team or you're a player, not that you want someone to throw 500 yards like Peyton Manning, but it's so demeaning when someone could just run the ball down your throat. This is what we're going to do. You can't stop us.
Well,
you see it coming, my friend, not me.
No, and I don't think a lot of people did. Ex-Eagle safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson said it last night, and he alluded to it walking into the locker room after the game. He was screaming about, I told you we were going to be physical, and that's exactly what they were. They were a physical football team, and they were shorthanded. So when you talk about the betting stuff and everything going on with the Eagles, they didn't cover the spread. The game went under the total, which has been happening a lot. We talked about this entire broadcast how they've scored 62 total points combined since the bye week in those 4 games. The game went under the total. Did Eagles fans get smoked on bets last night? I mean, just in general, when you look at just how that game played out?
Well, I was very frustrated. I ended up bet on Jalen Hurts under pass yards, which was 99.9% to win in the fourth quarter, and the 1 in 1,000 came through and I lost. And I had him over 31.5 rushing yards, and he finished with 31. That game was not fun for me either. It's funny, Jeff, and I keep talking about it, when you watch the Eagles, at what point, it's like, Jeff, I don't know if you're married or not.
I am.
But
2 kids.
Okay. Yes. When you live with someone, you know how that person is, right? Or you have kids. you can't BS it. If you're with someone, you're living with them, you know their personality. It's not like you meet them for 5 minutes for a lunch, right? I always am amazed by this. The Eagles have shown who they are week after week after week. And people, because of last year, and I get it, it's just going to turn around. Saquon was player of the year, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. But it gets to be at some point, saying the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing time and time again and expecting it to change. At what point are you going to open your eyes and be like, this is who they are? Like, they're not faking it. This is not like, I'm trying to trick you guys. We really are just not giving our A game, but don't worry, we have it in the bag. And I said, and I'm not a coach, Jeff, and I don't pretend to be one, what I think this team would need more than anything else, and again, as I stress, I don't pretend to know stuff I don't know, but there's clear issues here that you don't need to be a rocket science to see that what they're doing is not working. Now, I don't have the answer. Okay, here's, I was like, maybe they do a hurry up, but whatever it is, they're watching this team play is like going to the dentist, and they've gotten away with it. They've gotten away with it. Credit to them because the defense has been that good for most of the year. They let down against Dallas, Jeff, as we saw, but a great Dallas offense. But yesterday was the first game, Jeff, to me. There have been 2 games this year I was disgusted. The Giants game and this game.
Yeah, I agree. And so leads me to my next point. Going forward, 5 games to go. Have the Eagles, as far as betting is concerned, are they becoming the under team? Like, do you just have to go, they're not going to score 30 points, just bet the under?
Yeah. Yeah, Jeff, to me, that's fair because this team has just gone. I mean, it's funny, Jeff, I actually love to go back and almost like watch all the games last year. And I say that because of this. Think about this, what I'm about to say to you. They lead the NFL in 3-and-outs this year.
Right.
And I was thinking to myself, okay. But I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Last year, and I don't remember, I really don't. What really, quote-unquote, saved them was it seemed like every game, Saquon had a 70, 80-yard run. Maybe even 2 in the same game. And you weren't noticing the 3-and-outs because this guy was so good that he was just getting, every game, he was getting you 14 points with these long runs. And they don't have those free 14 points this year. So instead of scoring 31, they're scoring 17, right? Or instead of scoring 34, they're scoring 20. You get my point. Maybe last year it was disjointed, but it wasn't even as noticeable because of Saquon. I'd love to go back and watch everything and study were they going 3-and-out more. Was it really not as smooth as they were thinking? But because Saquon had all these long runs, Jeff, people were not realizing that actually it was more relying on, let's say, a grand slam football, so to speak, and not just a bunch of singles.
So
I don't know, though.
Yeah, and so looking ahead to their next game on Monday Night Football, they have, 10 days between games, whatever it is. I was a little surprised. They're 2.5-point favorites. That's the early line to come out against the Chargers. When you look at the Eagles being favorites there, do you like the Eagles in that game, or do you go, I'm not touching the Eagles? I mean, this team is so unpredictable. I mean, you talked about the marriage comparison and that analogy. Do you stay away from the Eagles? Should people here at Parx Casino stay away from gambling on the Eagles?
Well, it's interesting, Jeff. One thing I've always said is it's interesting with sports betting, and for everyone watching, when you see a spread, okay, and my best example ever going to give, 2 years ago, Jeff, remember the year the Eagles, after the Super Bowl, they start off 9-2, and I remember I was doing the Eagles pregame show at that time for NBC, and they would, I kept saying they were a lucky team and the roof was going to fall in. It was just a matter of time, and you're an Eagles hater. I'm like, no, I love the Eagles. I'm not an Eagles hater, but they kept winning games like in the most fortunate fashion ever. But then, at the end of the year, Jeff, they lost 5 games in a row, okay? And they went into Tampa Bay. And I remember a must-win game, Week 17 against the Giants. The Giants beat them like 45-3. And a must-win game against a 5-12 Giants team.
Right.
But it's like the point of this being is, when you try to lose, you're a thin guy. You don't have to worry about it. But if you're an overweight person,
well, the camera's only getting me from here.
Stop it. Yeah, I'm not going to listen. I don't like when people are thin say that. But anyway, when you were trying to lose 30 pounds, you can't do it in a day. It's a 2-month, 3-month, 4-month, 5-month process, right? That's kind of what happens, Jeff, with these power ratings. The Eagles that year were 9-2. But they were clearly kind of doing it with a lot of mirrors, and then they started losing, and even they lose to the Giants in a must-win, and they're facing a legitimate Tampa Bay team on the road, and the Eagles are laying 3. And I'm like, It's kind of like the Eagles' offense this year. You have to adjust to the now, not what you. They do these gradual slides in the power ratings, Jeff. Gradual, okay. The Eagles, let's say, on a zero rating is a neutral. Maybe the highest team's a +9, the worst team's a -9. The Eagles at that time were maybe a +7. All right, now they lose. Maybe they're 6.5. They lose again. Maybe they're 6. They lose again. Maybe they're 5.5. They're still showing them after week 17. Maybe it's a +3 when they should have been a negative. They weren't a good team at that point. And to me, when I think sometimes, like Dallas this year is another example. Dallas, the lines have been too just to a slew that right now Dallas is good. You can't go by they started off 2-7 or now they're 6-5, whatever they are. Right now, today, they're a good team, especially offensively.
Yeah,
and
somehow, some way they've caught up to they're right there to banging on the Eagles' door, and you go, in a month from now, at Christmas time, what is this going to look like? Because the Cowboys, they felt like their season was done, and here we are.
You're right, Jeff, but credit to them. Now, again, while I hated, like to me, trading Luka Doncic, you just don't do it. Trading Michael Parsons, you just don't do it. But credit to them. I wouldn't have done what they did, but they traded a first and second round pick for Quinyon Williams, who's more or less been the best defensive player in the NFL since they got him. And that is, in my opinion, transfer. Now you can't run on this team nearly as well as before. Before they were kind of a sieve, pass-wise, running-wise. Now at least running back-wise, it's very hard to. They're tough up the middle, and I feel like it's kind of like maybe reinvigorated the locker room. Okay, Jerry believes in us, and it sometimes just takes a little something like that in a team sport to get everyone going together or whatnot. So right now, they're a tough out. But the Eagles, Jeff, going back to what you said about the Chargers, and again, I've watched them play in person a few times this year. They are kind of like Buffalo. What I mean by that, they have a phenomenal quarterback. But outside of the quarterback room, Jeff, I think that team is so limited. I mean, they have replacement players playing at running back. Defensively, they're okay. Horrible offensive line. It's a game the Eagles, to my opinion, Jeff, are severely more out-talented than the Chargers are. I think the Eagles should win this game. I think it's what I do like about it too, Jeff. Chargers have no home field advantage. I think we'll get people flying down there to root for the Eagles. I think the Eagles win this game. I do know if they lose this game, which I don't think they will, but if they do, to me, this, Jeff, could be a repeat of 2 years ago when they lost to Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
because I can see it. If this is the game to me, in my opinion, regular season-wise, this game is the most important game of the regular season.
Really? Wow, that's shocking to hear that. Because,
I believe that.
Yeah, I don't look at, but where things stand right now. I mean, I do see your point, and you wouldn't think, okay, this Chargers game, and it just seems like just another game against a good football team. But as far as like the gambling line, they're 2.5-point favorites are the Eagles.
It opened at 3, Jeff. It opened at 3.
Oh, okay.
So it's been no, sorry. It's called the look ahead line, Jeff. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Let me clarify. It's called the look ahead line, where they place these games. You could bet them a week early, right? And the line was 3 at Parks. Now it's down to 2.5. So what they basically did was they charged the Eagles or dinged the Eagles a half point, which to me was very justifiable based off that performance against the Bears. Now, here's the thing. All half-point movements, Jeff, are not created equally. Okay? When you move off the 3, that's the most – it's like in craps when you roll a 7. 7 is the most prevalent number. 3 in football is the 7 in craps. So to move off 3 is more like a regular line moving maybe 2 points. Okay? That's how important it is. Okay? So they really did ding the Eagles here. But again, to me, justifiably, we need to see to make sure, is this a 2 years ago thing where yes, they started off 8-3 or 8-2, whatever they were, and now they lose this, they're 8-5, right? Are they 8-4? Is that, I don't have the record in front of me, but I think they're 8-5. They lose it.
8-4.
Okay, they have 3 losses right now. Okay, all right.
No, what are we talking about? We're talking about the Eagles.
Yeah, the Eagles' record. I think they're
8-4.
Okay, so they'd be 8-5. They lost this, right? This would be a 3-game losing streak, and to me, at that point, yeah, I mean, I think it's very rare late in the season. Very rare. I remember the Tampa Bay did it with Tom Brady. They were 7-5. They ran the table and they did it, and they were only 7-5. But to me, it's far and few between where if you're playing not great at the end of the year, that you could just snap your fingers. The Giants did it, of course, that one year when they won the Super Bowl over the Patriots, Jeff. But yeah, I'll stick by it. I think this is the most important game of the year because I think they win this game. Okay, we clean things up against, as you said, Jeff, a good team. But they lose this game. They have a 3-game losing streak. Man, every single thing. There's going to be arguments in the locker room. There's going to be the pressure is going to be tenfold than what it is now. Just my opinion, but I really actually feel strongly on it.
No, I think that is a great take, and that is a great opinion, and I think you're exactly right. And last thing for you, we're joined by Brad Feinberg on BETParx Saturdays at Parx Casino outside the Sportsbook here on PHLY Sports. Brad, last thing for you, I think when I last checked this morning, the Eagles still have, I believe, the second best odds to win the Super Bowl. Do you know, is that correct? And is that also
that's insanity? That can't.
Is that shocking?
That's the case. I'll look that up, man. But that to me would be.
Is that can we look that up?
Absolute insanity.
Like best.
Oh wow, they do. You're Jesus.
Best odds.
Yeah.
Win the Super Bowl. Is it still the Eagles? And is that with where?
Jeff, to me, this is what I just talked about how when you're trying to lose a diet, when you go on a diet, it takes like 8 weeks, 12 weeks to move someone off these power ratings. The sports books are so afraid to overreact to one game that, in my opinion, they underreact. The Eagles are plus 750. They're the second choice after the Rams. To me, that is absolute insanity. Like, if you've watched the Eagles this year and you've watched Seattle, to me, those teams have not been close. I don't think they've even been close.
I'm not buying Seattle. And listen, I'm not buying Seattle. I'm not buying the Bears. I'm not buying some of these other teams. And maybe I'm being naive. And maybe I'm being, it's wishful thinking. But I do believe the Eagles will figure it out. And I do believe the Eagles, are Super Bowl contenders. But I hear you as we sit here. And I don't want to overreact today, but it is at the point, 12 games in with this team, that you're just like, oh my goodness, like what is going on here? It does feel like that, but yeah, I mean, I guess it is shocking that the Eagles still have the best odds, or second best odds to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, let me ask you a question, but here's one. Let me ask you a question. Good comp to me. You obviously know a ton about sports, Jeff. Aaron Nola, you would agree he's had a great career, not a Hall of Fame career, but a great career. Maybe not a postseason of Madison Bumgarner, but a good pitcher like that.
Sure.
But like 10 really good years. Everyone says he's had a great career. Not a Hall of Famer, but a great career. When he was pitching this year, Jeff, guy, look at the back of his baseball card. Guy's paid $30 million a year. Guy's never had a bad year. Did you think you were going to get a good start or a bad start?
Good start.
Okay. See, and I respect that you're saying that, but I totally disagree with that, respectfully so.
Why?
Because he showed start after start after start after start after start, he was bad. And I know he had the pedigree of being great, or at least very good. But if you look at Aaron Nola's game log this year, I'd have to look up his stats.
Yeah, but he was injured, and they were giving him a little bit more pace. And I also go, playing the odds, I just went, he's due to be great.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. You were saying he's due. And Jeff, his ERA was 6.01, the highest in Major League Baseball.
Yeah,
highest in Major League Baseball.
Of
any pitcher.
And he was hurt though, so I try to give guys, a break there. But I get it.
Yeah, but Jeff, he pitched 17 games. Pitched half the season. He pitched 17 games. And my point being is, it's not to argue with you. I respect your opinion a ton. But I'm just saying, like, I always say in life, you have a choice to be consistent or to be right. And in my job, if I choose to be consistent, I'll be bankrupt. I change my mind all the time when the data changes. I have to.
Sure.
If I'm just like, oh, Aaron was great, oh my God, and I see him taking a price and a game against a pitcher that I think is not that great, but then I look at, he's just been bad every single start. I'd rather be right in my next prediction as opposed to being consistent. I always thought Aaron Nola was good. To me, the Eagles, same thing right now. I have to be, even though I just said I like them, I do think they're going to beat the Chargers, but I'm really trying to be objective, saying this is not an Eagles team that I necessarily think is the Eagles team that we saw in the Super Bowl against Kansas City 2 of the last 3 years. And I have to be cognizant of, I've seen this offense now for 13 weeks, Jeff. 13 weeks. Except for the first half of that Dallas game in game 1, maybe another game that you were like, wow, this looks really smooth and good. Maybe there is one and I'm just not thinking of it. But man, again, I think they're telling you who they are. But as a fan, People are choosing not to accept the answer that they're telling you.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. And I don't think the Eagles, I love the Eagles.
As we all do. All right, Brad Feinberg, great follow on X at Brad's Best Bets. Great insight, as always, here on BETParx Saturdays. Brad,
Like the
thank you
Colts
so
this
much.
week, guys. Colts laying 3. My favorite bet, Colts laying 3. Either you choose to believe or not to believe. I actually believe in Daniel Jones this year. I think they get it done. Colts laying 3 against the Texan team. To me, home road splits. Much better at home. I think the Colts win this one.
All right. We'll see. Maybe somebody will be placing some bets behind me at the sports book at Parks Casino in Ben Salem. Brad, thank you as always.
I love
for
talking to you,
joining us.
Jeff. You're a good guy.
You
Appreciate
too.
you, buddy.
Great having you. Brad Feinberg, our pro sports betting analyst here at Parks Casino in Ben Salem on this Saturday. A tough Saturday after a Eagles loss. Not just a loss, just an absolute blowout. Well, of course, it is a big fall sports weekend. Check out the BETParx app. There is another way you can win on the BETParx app. Of course, you don't just have to come down here to the casino. You can just go online with the live bet while you watch the weekend sports. It makes watching the game that much more fun. Live betting better than ever on the BETParx app. Get some skin in the game. The BETParx app is the Philly sports fans' choice for the bet on sports and to play the classic casino games as well, like blackjack and craps and much more. Right now, new casino users can get up to 1,000 casino bonus back, plus 250 free spins on the new slot game, Tree Wishes, a BETParx app exclusive. You must be, of course, 21 in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan to bet. BetParx.com has the terms and conditions. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Again, Eagles 2.5-point favorites next week in LA. Monday Night Football against the LA Chargers. As we were talking to Brad Feinberg there, and I guess it is surprising that the Eagles have still the second best odds to win the Super Bowl. You know, you see the talent on this team and you go, all right, this team is a Super Bowl contender. And then you see the product on the field, not just yesterday, but week in and week out, you're going, man, oh man, something's not right. And hopefully they can get this fixed. And when you look forward at this team going forward, you know, we talked to and we heard from lots of people today, from Nick Sirianni to Jalen Hurts to NFL analysts from Amazon Prime. We heard from Barrett Brooks, the former Eagles offensive lineman and who does a great job now as a NFL analyst for NBC Sports Philadelphia. Something is off. They look lost. There's confidence issues. Amazon NFL Prime analysts Andrew Whitworth and Ryan Fitzpatrick, they talked about those struggles and what's going on with what they're seeing from this Philadelphia Eagles team. So what is the solution? They are running out of time. The Eagles have 5 games left. What are the solutions? What can they find? And so we caught up with former NFL quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick, who I said is now an analyst for NFL Prime. He was on the pre- and post-game shows last night on the game broadcast. And we wanted to get his take on, one, how can this Eagles offense be fixed? What can they do to get it going? And two, Ryan Fitzpatrick has great insight on Kevin Patullo, who is under fire because he played on 2 different teams that Patullo was a part of. He was on staffs for. So he has great insight into Kevin Patullo and how to maybe fix this Eagles offense. Let's listen to Ryan Fitzpatrick, the former NFL quarterback who's now an analyst for NFL Prime. Take a listen.
I've played in a couple systems with Kevin Patullo. And this type of offense is a lot about the players and the players being able to make plays. And so the 2 guys they have on the outside, and A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, when you look at A.J. Brown, the things that he's absolutely elite at, they love him on in-breaking routes because, you know, the slants, the in-cuts, the glances, those are the things, if you can give him an accurate ball, that he's going to be able to break that tackle from the corner or break that initial hit from the safety and take off and go. And it's the go balls. And so you have these elite routes from a player that has elite traits, and it's how do we get so many of these into a game plan? And now to Sherm's point, when you're playing against a team like this and you have a smart corner like Richard Sherman was, and you can sit there and look at splits and determine routes, you've got to find ways to counter that. And I think that's through self-study and self-scout and going back and looking and saying, gosh, we need to get A.J. Brown on a few more outcuts. We need to get A.J. Brown in the slot a little bit more. We need to move him around. They've got to start in the second half of the season here, breaking some of those tendencies, because you do fall in love with certain routes with certain guys because they're such good players. But the hardest part about the Eagles is those two guys on the Saquon Barkley, number one, is who you had to stop, and people have been doing that this year. But those two guys on the outside create a lot of problems if you're going to leave them one-on-one. And so I think a lot of teams are saying, don't leave those guys one-on-one on the outside. Yeah, so Kevin has had a lot of different influences, Chan Gailey being one of his major influences early in his career. He was with him in Kansas City. He was with him in Buffalo, where I was with Kevin. And then we were together in New York as well with the Jets. So Kevin had that influence. And what's cool about him is he was really wanting to learn more. And so he wanted to kind of get out of Chan's system and find somewhere else. He went to Texas A&M. He learned the RPO game from a college level, which has sort of trickled its way up. And then he was with Sirianni and has a lot of the principles from Sirianni. I think the thing that people don't realize, they've gone through all of this change with their offensive coordinators, with 4 of them in the last 4 or 5 years. Kevin has been there the whole time. And so he does have a intimate knowledge of these football players, and intimate knowledge of Jalen Hurts and what makes him tick and how he processes things. And so he is continuing to grow this year as an offensive coordinator. Have there been some missteps? Yeah, there definitely have. But I think with coaches as well, you have to continue to see, like we mentioned with Caleb Williams, you have to continue to see that growth. And for him, it's this season. We have to continue to see that offense grow, and for him to make the necessary changes in the second half of a football game to get this team to be successful.
That is former NFL quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick, who now does a great job on the Amazon Prime Thursday Night Football, and of course last night Friday Night Football, Black Friday, and great insight there. Again, he was on 2 staffs during his careers during his career, he was on 2 staffs that Kevin Patullo was on, so he has direct knowledge of how Kevin Patullo's wired, how he thinks, and again, unless something changes, Nick Sirianni said he's not going to be making a change. So when you look at this team and you point the finger at number 1, Jalen Hurts, and go, what can Jalen do to fix all this? And look, he's come under fire for him being conservative and for everything that Hurts has done this season. He has won games, but he just looks off, and everyone we've talked to today has said he looks off. Surprisingly, I mean, Jalen leads the NFL with 7 passing touchdowns of 30 yards or more. So it goes to my point, which is he does have a good deep ball. And maybe we see too much of Jalen Hurts in every single snap, and maybe from afar you go, take a step back and go, he is a winning quarterback. He has the best touchdown to interception ratio in the NFL. The Eagles, the best red zone team in the NFL. But other than that, this team has just not lived up to potential. And, you know, you cannot fool your own eyes. Something just does not look right. And again, let's hope the Eagles can fix it. But you do wonder how much Jalen Hurts is to blame for this. So Ryan Fitzpatrick, we wanted to get his take on how much Jalen Hurts deserves the blame and what he thinks about Jalen Hurts, who, yes, has limited the mistakes. He has been very good at winning football games. He's the Super Bowl MVP, and he's arguably maybe the greatest quarterback in Eagles history. Sounds hard to believe, but look at the success, look at the win rate that Jalen Hurts is on in a short period of time. So listen to Ryan Fitzpatrick on Jalen Hurts.
Nothing new for Jalen Hurts. I think, you know, the thing that we always say about him, and a lot of people do, is the guy just wins football games and he finds ways. And, you know, in the biggest moments of his career in the Super Bowls, he's played his best. And so I think sometimes there's a frustration or an inconsistency there. You want to see more in certain ways, but he always finds a way to play his best in the game's biggest moments. So, you know, he's dealt with a lot, and this A.J. Brown stuff isn't new in terms of a receiver thinking that he's not getting the ball enough in an offense. And so I think the best thing that Jalen does is throw the go ball. I think he's probably a top 2 go ball thrower in the NFL. And obviously what he can do in extending plays and use his legs. So they're going to have to lean on that. If they get man coverage, it's going to be a long day for Chicago, I think. But if they don't give them those easy go ball throws on the outside, then they're going to be in quite the battle with the Bears. Yeah, I think he does a great job of staying steady. And there's never a moment where you see him get too high or too low, almost to a fault. He just is stoic all the time. So I don't see any lingering issues from the last game to this game. I do think they got to put more of an emphasis on it. And with the Eagles, it's more about finishing games too. They've been able to get off to good starts in the first half. And then in the second half, things they start to dissipate and they don't play as well. So they'll put an emphasis on it this week. And I think, they've been there before. They've done this. They're a veteran team. And so they need to come out, get back on track. And part of it's going to be Jalen Hurts sitting down with his offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo, and maybe, having some hard conversations and looking at what's going on in the second half of these games and saying, look, these are the things I like. These are the things I don't like. Let's make sure, that we've got our foot on the pedal all game long and we're not taking it off. Because I think that's what's happening sometimes is there's a lull because they have these leads. But they're going to come out playing better this week. I think we'll see a good response from the Eagles and Jalen Hurts.
Oh boy, let's hope so. Some hard conversations need to be had with the Philadelphia Eagles, and they have some time. I mean, Nick Sirianni made a point last night. With everything going on, he's searching for answers. He's going to use this extra time to try to figure it out. And nobody's questioning their work ethic in trying to figure this out because Nick Sirianni is a competitive guy, wants to figure this out, and let's hope so, because as much talent as they have on this football team, they should be steamrolling teams like the Chicago Bears. I mean, look, losing against the Cowboys last week was awful, right? Because the way they collapsed. Losing to the Cowboys in general, you're like, okay, I get it, it's a divisional game. But the way they lost last week, the way they lost this week against the Bears on Friday Night Football, brutal, unacceptable. And it's just, it cannot happen, especially for a team that is built like the Eagles to make another Super Bowl run and that really has the ability to be a dynasty for a long time to come. Will they figure it out? We will talk all about it next Saturday here on BETParx Saturday, live from Parx Casino in Bensalem, Pennsylvania, outside the sports book here in Bensalem. We got into all of it today, every single angle, all the hot topics, and it was just brutal. Hopefully things go much smoother on Monday Night Football. Eagles, Chargers, they better figure it out. Eagles fans leaving last night early. I couldn't believe my own eyes. Hopefully things turn around and they get better on Monday Night Football. Well, that'll do it for this week's BETParx Saturday, live on PHLY Sports from the Parx Casino Sportsbook right here on this beautiful, brisk day. Hopefully Eagles fans will be a little happier next week when they face the Chargers. For my producer, Andrew Frazier, I'm Jeff Skversky. Thanks for watching BETParx Saturdays live from the Sportsbook at Parx Casino. Of course, you want to play some bets, you can go onto the Parx app. Lots to do on that thing, or if you want to come down to the casino and place your bets. Eagles, Chargers, Eagles favorites next week. We'll see how that shapes out. All right, that's it for BETParx Saturdays. I'm Jeff Skversky. Thanks for watching on the YouTube channel, PHLY Sports. We'll see you next week. Eagles, Chargers, up next.
We all silly like the mayor.